In this video we're going to discuss how to vary your ball flight when chipping. So in one of our earlier videos we discussed the base technique, or not the basic but the base technique, and the base technique is having the ball off your back foot. So being a shoe distance from the ball, having the ball off your back foot, slightly open stance, hands left, weight left. Now a few years ago I learnt this from, or I didn't learn it from him, but I certainly saw him do it, which was Eduardo Molinari doing some practice. And he varied his ball flight. When we were having a chat with him, he varied his ball flight by always having the same ball position and varying how far forward he had his hands at address to remind him about how far in front he wanted them to be when he struck the ball. Now that's fine when you're a European Tour player or a World Tour player and you're practicing this stuff 8 hours a day, that's fine. But if you're an average club golfer that gets out once a Saturday, that might not work. So what I recommend and what I certainly teach is this will always be your home base, ball off the back foot, until you've learnt that back to front. Once you've learned it back to front, then you can start varying things and you can start maybe changing the ball position or maybe starting to open the club face. But that's got to be in your back pocket first. So I would definitely suggest you take a look at those earlier videos and absolutely practice that until you've got it in your back pocket. What we're going to get to is how to vary your ball flight. Now the most simplest thing to do, if you want the ball to go a little lower, is to push your hands a little further in front. That's going to manipulate the angle of your club face and get it to go lower. I would definitely never recommend you have your hands behind the ball. We said that good basis is hands left. What I find as a player and what I actually coach may seem complicated, but it's actually what a lot of guys do. A lot of girls do it on the LPGA Tour as well, is they'll aim a little bit more left and open up their club face just a tiny little bit and then take a slightly bigger swing. You might think, well, that's incredibly complicated. Why don't I just grab a different club? Well, yeah, you can do that. You can grab a different club and have 3 different outcomes with 3 different clubs and 3 different ball flights, and that's fine if you're practicing that enough. My preference as a coach is to have one club, get to know it, learn what that club does, learn how to then manipulate that club before you start mucking around with other clubs. That's just my opinion though. Other people will have a different opinion on that, and that's fine. There's no wrong or right there, there's just preference. You might play the ball a tickle further back. That's going to manipulate the club face. I wouldn't recommend you start putting the ball way out in front, not until you know what this one's doing. So to have a low ball flight, let's call this A. We're going to have a certain flight from that one there as long as the hands stay in front. You might place the ball a little further back again, which might be unusual if you've never had the ball that far behind you in your stance before, but it can work, it does work, and lots of people do it. Phil Mickelson's a big fan of that. That will give you a lower ball flight again. Let's go back to home base. Open the club face a tickle. That means the club's going to point out to the right a little, so we have to counteract that by aiming a tiny little bit more left with your body line. So that will mean you've got a bit of a fork going on in that your feet are well left, your club face is a bit right. As long as your swing path's good, the ball will go to your target and it will vary your flight. Any opening or closing of the club face will vary your ball flight. So I would recommend you get to know A first, which is home base, B, having the ball that little bit further back, and C, going back to home base but aiming a tickle more left and then opening the club face just a little. You'll find you'll have A, you'll have B, and you'll have C. You'll have 3 different ball flights without doing too much and going to your golf bag and adding doubt to the equation. We're still going back to the club that we want to know, and we're just going to vary our ball flights. So we're now going to hit a couple of these. We're going to hit our base shot first. There's our pretty low skipper. Now we're going to add a second ball to that. And we're going to do exactly what we just did there, except we're going to play the ball just that little bit further back again. Grip's always pointing at your left pocket. That hasn't changed. The club face looks a little bit closed to me now. It's actually not. It's actually square to the target. It's just an optical illusion of having that ball further back. There we go, that one's gone out lower. It had a lot of backspin on it. Ironically, the lower the ball flight, the more backspin it's got. And then shot 3, I would only play this from a good lie, by the way, is to open up your body a little bit more to the left, open the club face a little bit open to the right, do the same thing. Now we've got 3 different ball flights, 3 fairly similar outcomes. I'm not unhappy with any of those particularly, and we still did our first and foremost job, which is to hit the back of the ball properly first. So I hope that helps with your consistency. I hope that helps with you varying your ball flight with regards to chipping.